Hi, my name is Juliana Sanders, and I'm going to be talking about stem cell research. It's a very controversial subject, so I'm going to be talking about the international policies that go along with stem cell research in specific countries, including the UK, Japan, and Germany. The historical culture, religious, and political difference among the UK and Germany and Japan are striking. Therefore, it's not surprising that even though they have faced some of the same ethical policies and issues, they have responded in very different ways with different rationales. But it is somewhat surprising that despite their differing answers to the same questions, two of these countries, the UK and Japan, have adopted similar stem cell research policies, and Germany, a world leader in science, has decided to adopt a more restrictive policy. These observations call for a concluding look at the ways in which these countries have brought in several significant questions related to the development of human embryonic cell research policy. The question of the moral consideration owed to the human embryo has been an issue and concern in all three countries. Yet it is framed in different ways. In each, this has affected the ways of which government policies with regard to stem cell research have been reached and justified in them. Both the UK and Germany devoted considerable time to legislative and public debates about this question. Japan did do to a lesser extent, for is more inclined to have such decisions made at the upper levels of government and with limited public input. In the UK, the view that emerged was that while early embryos are owed respect, this must be balanced against the benefits of stem cell research. These benefits, according to the prevailing view in Parliament and among the public, overcome the moral weight of such embryos. The government therefore concluded that embryonic cell research should proceed. In Germany, in contrast, a coalition of forces sought to protect human embryos. Some among them regarded human embryos as human beings on the basis of religious life, while others maintained that destruction of human embryos would fly in the face of environmental and feminist concerns. Their mutual understanding of the human embryo as besieged and in need of protection from overzealous researchers was linked to a historical sense that if biotechnology were not reined in, it would run rampant in the country, leaving some, be that embryos or born human beings, dead, and others injured for life. The view of this coalition prevailed, and highly restrictive stem cell research policy was enacted in Germany, primarily on the basis of the prevalent view of the moral and social significance of early human embryos. This was not the case in Japan, though. Although the traditional view considers the human embryo to be a spirit child in some sense, it is a child that at times may regretfully be destroyed for the good of others. However, such destruction is not forever. This child will be reborn in the future and will have the opportunity to live a full life. Therefore, the stem cell research policy adopted in Japan, which seems to be affected by this traditional view, allows the destruction of human embryos in research that might provide scientific and therapeutic innovations. Even so, there are hints and there is some resistance to this policy among some in Japan who are mindful of the import of the Mizuko in traditional Japanese thought, and that stem cell research is being slowed down in practice, although not in the policy as a result. Another major difference between these countries lies in their attitudes towards the employment of scientific endeavors to foster their country's economic health. The UK and Japan, that have similar mindsets, are quite open to the use of biotechnological innovation, unlike Germany, as an engine of economic progress, and are actively pursuing stem cell research in order to move ahead in economic development. However, they consider it important to establish regulations and guidelines for stem cell research and are keen to ensure that those carrying it out are licensed and monitored. Their embrace of biotechnological and economic growth is not unlimited. Germany, in contrast, is much more skeptical about using this research as a tool to bolster its economy. Economic power, it has maintained, should not be purchased at the cost of runaway science. It is also skeptical about the use of biotechnology to improve humankind, concerned that this embrace of biotechnological and economic growth is not unlimited. Given that Germany has developed a highly restrictive stem cell research policy, while the UK and Japan have carved out more permissive policies, and that countries around the world that engage in stem cell research have adopted widely varying stem cell research policies, is there any hope that they will eventually overcome their differences and develop one international policy governing this research? The outlook is not promising. International attempts to harmonize policies in the area of biomedical ethics and human research, such as those of the Council of Europe and United Nations, have not pursued research that is banned in their own countries elsewhere, apparently in an effort to change current policy in countries such as Germany. In effect, the report reflects a permissive approach that leaves out of the remit of its principles those countries that take a restrictive or a moderate approach. It is unlikely that such countries would sign up to this report. It also seems unlikely that in Hingston's group report would lead international agreement on a regulatory framework for this research because of significant differences among nations regarding how rapidly and vigorously human embryonic stem cell research should proceed, that are grounded in their different histories, cultures, traditions, religious, and ethical values, degrees of technological optimism, and attitudes towards economic development. Yet, as the ethics working party of the International Stem Cell Research Forum, the Hingston Group, and others rightly put out, it is essential to eventually adopt a common scientific and ethical standard for stem cell research and research cloning in order to protect the health, safety, and rights of research subjects and patients around the globe. As stem cell research develops in various parts of the world, there will be increasing cooperation among scientists in these nations that embrace it. They will exchange information about research design results, materials, and personnel. It is important that they also share information and reach agreement that such patient centered issues as the need for ethical standards, for informed consent for embryo and gamete donations, and for the transfer of stem cells to patients in therapy. Issues with ethical implications, such as those of quality control of embryonic stem cells, privacy, and financial conflicts of interest, among others, will need to be addressed in the policies of many nations that pursue stem cell research in mutually compatible ways. To protect research subjects and ultimately patients who receive stem cell therapies, it is imperative that countries engaging in this research aim to develop common scientific and ethical standards for its pursuit, even in the face of significant cultural, religious, economic, and other differences. So the issue becomes is that will there ever be some type of international policy regulations for stem cell research, and with the different ideas and mindsets of countries, it's going to be very hard. But with the further development of embryonic stem cell research, this might be the case.